Welcome to the Dream Power Show, where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Welcome to the Dream Power Show. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. If there's one question that's uppermost in people's minds these days, it's this. How do we navigate through these challenging times in a way that gives us power, hope, and healing? Believe me, I know it's hard, especially when it's so easy to slip into negativity and despair. That's why I've been seeking out experts who can help us rise to become our best selves. And today, I'm honored to welcome another authority, my special guest, Cyndi Dale. Cyndi is an internationally renowned speaker, healer, educator, and author of 27 books about energy medicine, intuition, and spirituality. Her latest book is Energy Healing for Trauma, Stress, and Chronic Conditions. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Cyndi.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here, even though we're going to talk about things like fear.
Oh, believe me, and that's actually one of the first things I do want to ask you about. Because Cyndi, like I said, I've spoken with so many people since this pandemic struck. They all see this as a time for us to look within and to rediscover our true selves. But the one thing that often stops us in our tracks is fear. So my question to you is there a remedy for this? And if so, how do we tackle fear in a way that empowers us?
That's an important question. And I do have to admit, I have been applying my own ideas to myself, because when we were first put in lockdown, I was in shock, as I think most of us were. And some people are in increasing shock because this is a mobile issue. It just keeps moving and shifting, which life does anyway. Like, if we're really honest, it's all about the fear of uncertainty. And if we're even more honest, I think most of us have a fear of uncertainty all the time. But when we first went into lockdown, I just became scared. I didn't know, should I go to the grocery store? Shouldn't I? When I went, I found my heart pounding. And it took me a while to figure out how to get back into a centered place and calm myself down. And one of the differentiating factors that I keep bringing up for myself and for people I work with is we really have to discern between healthy fear and unhealthy fear. And I'm sure you work with that as well. You know, kind of having to step back and go, now, let's not blow this off, or let's not, just make the fear disappear or go into a trauma analysis with it if it's a healthy fear. So I think we first have to ask ourselves, when are we being healthy with our fear?
So what is a healthy fear?
Well, healthy fear is how we're made. I mean, if you take every feeling down to what it's supposed to do for survival and love, right? We're here about, we've got to survive if we're going to keep going and be who we are and fulfill our purposes. And we want to make connections. So from that place, if we feel a healthy fear, it's because that fear is giving us a message. We're supposed to stop because we're not safe. Something is not safe. A person's not safe. A situation isn't safe. Maybe an idea that we hold isn't safe. And at that point, I think we've got to go, okay, if this is a true feeling, a statement, a message, I need to figure out how to go forward, backward, or to the left, or to the right. So, and then the fear is supposed to disappear if we act on it.
Well, does it?
if it's a healthy fear, right? Like, and I know that after a crisis, we usually go into shock. The bigger the crisis, the bigger the shock. And we're able to act, and then we feel the fear afterwards. But it's a healthy fear because we really were in danger. And let's say, we've got 2 events we could go to, and everybody's in a different state of open, lockdown, illness, etc. But we're just going to talk the virus, SARS-CoV-2 for just a second, okay? So let's say there's 2 situations. I can stay at home, or I could go to a friend's where they're promising to socially distance. They're promising to be good, you bring your own food, etc. So if I'm tuning into those two situations and I feel much more comfortable staying at home, and I get this gnawing fear if I think of going to my friends, as soon as I decide not to go, that fear should disappear. If it doesn't disappear, that's not really the issue. And then I have to do some deeper dive to figure out, what's this fear trying to show me? Do I have old trauma? Am I feeling other people's feelings? Because sometimes when we feel scared, it's not really our fear. It might be somebody else's. Or it could be a childhood issue or an adult issue that's just locked in place. And, we also pick up fear from our ancestors. So I think 80% of what we think of as our issue or our emotion often really isn't. We're just the tip of the iceberg.
So before you said that, taking action is a way to help dissipate the fear. And I think that always comes into play in so many things, that when we're emotion, we're not letting our thoughts run us. We are running our lives. We're not letting our thoughts run us. And I think that plays a big part in it. But you said something before about other people, and I'm thinking of, one of the things that so many people have said to me is, you just turn off all media, because media is just going to scare you. But, we're human, we live lives, we'll turn on the news and hear something that's obviously going to scare us. Or, our friends or our loved ones will say things that, will show their fears. How do we keep ourselves from absorbing fears that come from other people?
I think that really is a key. And for some of us, we need a certain amount of data to feel safe. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm just in a vacuum. I know that my type of personality, I'm very empathic, I'm very physically based. So and I am visual and verbal, but I gauge my place in the world through my sense of my body and, how I'm feeling, satisfied, not safe, not, and all of this. So I don't watch the visual news because that imprints me too much and it terrifies me. But if I don't have a certain amount of data, I just get it off my iPhone, then I feel scared. So I think some of it is we have to figure out what type of person we are. Are we more verbal, visual, empathic? What do we need to let in and what do we need to keep away from? But honestly, I still think that these are methods and means and avenues, as well as hanging out with other people or being on the phone or a Zoom with them, that we just can get overloaded with their issues, with their feelings, whatever they are, their physical pains. If we get together with people and pretty soon we're crying and they used to be crying, we've absorbed their fear, their feelings. If we get together with somebody and they have aches and pains and suddenly we do, or we go to the movies and everything that happens to our heroine or our hero, we feel in our own body. I mean, we're an empath. So we just have to own it, because then we can take some steps to ask ourselves, like, is this mine or not? And use various energetic techniques or even our dreams, to kind of like flush out what's not ours. And how about making a decision? We're not going to pick up what's not ours anymore. Sometimes we just have to make a decision too.
Well, getting back to things that are ours, that belong to us, isn't it true that there are things from our past traumas that give us fear? And even not only just past traumas in our lives, but even in our past lives, I mean, we may not even be aware of on any kind of conscious level. So how do you deal with that?
Exactly. Well, if you can't get rid of it, like a situation like a paranoia or a fear, or fear of dogs, fear of riding in airplanes, fear of small spaces, fear that, this invisible virus is going to get you no matter what you do. If anything feels too big, then, I always tell somebody, first ask, for grace, first ask to be flushed by guides or your spirit or what you believe in of anything that's not yours. So I start there. And then what's left is yours. So if you can track it to a childhood event, then you work on the childhood event. Like, I used to be scared of dogs, and my mom told me, well, you know what? When you were like a year and a half, you crawled under the neighbor's fence and the dogs attacked you. So that's pre-verbal. But once I knew that, I sat in a few minutes. I envisioned my little child self and I said, it's okay. You're done with that. You're out of that situation. You're big now. You can be protected. And so you don't need to be scared of dogs. And I've had dogs ever since, in my own adult life. But you're exactly right. Past lives are a rich basin of our fears. I worked with a woman, and I'm sure you've worked at these levels too. I worked with a woman who was terrified of flying, and there was no reason. And we did a past life regression, which you can do on your own. You can get quiet, drift back, or ask to have a dream show you something, or do some writing, or be in a meditative state and open for signs for a few days or what have you. But she actually, and this one was a big one, she actually remembered being an angel. And she's flying around having fun, not a bird, she was an angel. And somebody got her, like a fellow angel, maybe not a very nice one, was jealous of her and clipped her wings, and she fell to earth. And that's how she remembers coming to earth. So in that fall were all kinds of secondary feelings like, oh my gosh, I'm abandoned. They're not looking for me. Now I'm trapped. So anytime she was in an airplane, all that came back. And until she had this story, she couldn't go in an airplane and just go, this is just an airplane. I'm not falling to earth and stuck here forever. I'm already here. I'm already here. And when is my time? It's my time. And in the meantime, I'm just going to sit here, and read a book. So we can look at past lives, and, sometimes our ancestors' issues are alive inside of us too.
It's up to us to acknowledge that, discover it, and then we could start the healing process.
Exactly. I encourage people, when you're dealing with energy, which is physical, but most of it's really invisible and subtle, you're not constrained with healing. You don't have to just heal your inner child or your current situation. You can send healing back to who you were a long time ago. You can send healing to your ancestors. One of my favorite techniques is somebody's feeling like something their ancestor went through. Maybe they know an ancestor went through the earlier pandemic, in this century, or, maybe they went through a pandemic, my client, in a different century altogether. You send healing, you ask for healing energies to go to whomever had the original trauma, you, an ancestor, maybe even your spouse, and you're picking up on your spouse's fear. So healing goes every direction. So it's important, I think, and exciting and empowering to know that we can deliver healing energies across time.
Cyndi, you were talking about how, we can do things to boost our immune system and help heal ourselves. Just on a practical matter, do we do this? Do we get ourselves into a meditative state, or do you do this through hypnosis? How does that work?
I usually like to get myself or help a client get into a meditative state, but you can do that really quickly. I'm very what the world would call ADHD. So I'm not going to do any of my own exercises for even 10 minutes. I like them quick. And so, so I use a 3-part practice that I call spirit to spirit that gets me into a meditative state really quickly. And then I can get out of it really quickly if I need to as well. You can do it sitting at a stoplight, but not when you're driving, kind of a thing. All right. And I always start by, first I understand that we are all spirit. We all have our own spirit or immortal essence. I do, others do. There's visible and invisible spirits, people and guides and some kind of greater power, whatever you want to call it. And you don't even have to believe in something outside, just a goodness. And so when I'm going to get into a meditative state, I just affirm or acknowledge my own spirit. Like I feel that inside that I am going to be my best self in this moment. I'm immediately calmed down. And then if I'm alone, I acknowledge that there's helping spirits that are positive and uplifting. If I'm with somebody, I acknowledge their spirit, like say if I'm in a session. And then my third step is just to acknowledge and surrender to something greater. And as soon as I do that third step, I'm open. I'm ready to make declarations, to do any psychic visualizations.
How can people find out about you and your work?
Oh, I have a website like most of us do. It's cindydale.com, CYNDIDALE.com. It's just spelled funny. If you spell it funny, you'll find me.
We've been speaking with energy healer and author Cyndi Dale. We'll be right back with our next guest. A few months ago, the founder of this network, Raven Blair Glover, felt helpless in the face of COVID-19, which at that time was just starting its insidious path into our lives. She realized that if she felt that way, others probably did too, and, being a woman of action, decided to do something about it. So she gathered 60 or so broadcasters, TV hosts, podcasters, and the like to offer their messages of hope and inspiration and empowerment into an event called Broadcasters Unite, Lift Up the World, which aired on this network and others a little while ago. I offered up my own 2 cents on how you could take positive action to make changes in your life. I bring this up now because there's a crying need for all of us to look beyond ourselves and find gratitude in what we're facing every day of our lives. One person who shares this view is my special guest, who's coming back to the Dream Power Show for a second time, Dr. Cheralyn Leeby. Cheralyn is a licensed marriage and family therapist who has put her thoughts on gratitude into an essay called Thanks Plus Giving, a Recipe for Living. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Shez.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
And we are so happy to have you back. Shez, we all know Thanksgiving as the holiday where we all get food drunk, and yet we probably never take the time to really drill down into what that compound word really means. So let's do that now. Let's start with the word thanks. So tell me, what is your definition of it, what it means, and why it's actually necessary for us to give thanks?
So my favorite holiday has always been Thanksgiving. And it was more about, like you said, the food. But the more I looked into why I love that holiday, there are food expectations, but other than that, with that holiday, it's really about the gathering together, the giving of thanks, the giving with our families and our loved ones. So I did break that compound word down, as you said, and as a recipe for living, the thanks part is a process where no matter what your life circumstance is, if you can, in a quick mindset shift, bring in the gratitude, the power of that, I've witnessed over and over how fast that is. So it's as simple as, no matter what it is, come to a place of, what can I be thankful for? What can I have grace and gratitude with? And the power in that is amazing. So that's part of why I wrote about this formula in this book called The Grateful Soul. And we could talk more about it, but it's a compilation book. So all these, it's so timely right now. All these chapters are about gratitude practices or essays on gratitude. And mine happens to be thanks and giving.
Yes, I want to get back to the Thanksgiving formula that you have. So let's get over to the next word, giving. Can you have thanks without giving?
So yes, absolutely. I feel like it's a 2-step process. So the gratitude is the first thing that you bring in internally. Bring in the gratitude in any way you can, again, no matter what the circumstance is. And what that does is it's kind of a relentless allowing of all things. And it's not just to sit by and kind of, let yourself get run over by a truck type thing, but it's kind of an allowing of all those things out of our control and saying, here's what I can bring in that I'm grateful for in the moment. And then the second step, the giving, is transcending that difficult circumstance to a place where you can give to others. And it is in giving that we receive, we hear those kind of things, or I love thinking of do unto your neighbor, because it's not just say, hey, thanks, but it's that next step of do unto your neighbor, give in some way. And I've witnessed my clients and myself and friends that when we power our energies into a form of giving, we transcend any kind of sorrow, any kind of distress. And I believe it's why like foundations and charities and all kinds of things, they come out of difficult situations where we're like, what do we do with this energy of grief and loss and difficulty? When we channel that into something positive, a giving modality, we're transcending our sorrow and bringing that to a place of new healing, really. And the healing is not just for others through the giving, but what you get back is tenfold.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't it really true that when you do give from the heart, you actually get more back than
Totally.
imagine? Yes.
Absolutely. And I think we can all kind of recall those times when we kind of forgot our circumstances, or time stood still, and it was because we were in a mode of either giving or joy, presence. That thanks and giving process that I'm talking about, and it's just a simple way to remember it, is why I use that word. But that process brings us to a place of complete presence and a place where we're kind of outside of ourselves, outside of our psyche, and just enjoying or giving in that moment. So even the little ways, when they have that pay it forward stuff where like you pay for somebody's coffee behind you or whatever, those are moments when I think we can all remember like, wow, that was really a memorable thing. Or those sparks of light, look for the healers in the bad situations that Mr. Rogers talked about, or his mother talked about. Those are the times that we're really transcending ourselves and transcending our own situation and then getting the healing back. And I've seen it over and over and over.
Yeah, and the other part of it is it doesn't have to be this like super big grand gesture. It could be the smallest thing that could just ripple and have just this multiple effect on you and people surrounding you.
Right, absolutely. I know you just showed on your other positive podcast thing the thank you video that was done for healthcare workers, and I think just the recognition of that thanks in a way that's concrete for people that you're grateful for, those kind of things just bring so much power to the healing that we all need, especially in this time.
It took a tragedy for you to realize the importance of Thanksgiving. And recently, I understand that you had another tragic death in your life. Did this concept of Thanksgiving help you deal with that?
It was really kind of crazy cosmic timing that when this came out, which was right in May, I guess, May or June. I wrote about my one brother's death, who died when I was 21 and he was 18, and he took his own life. And that was a very tragic, really, really difficult, still brings me to tears, really difficult situation for my family. And then so I wrote about that, and I wrote about how I healed. And it wasn't an overnight process that I realized, oh, I can give thanks for this because it propelled my career path into what I do today. Or I can channel all that difficult energy with not understanding, suicide and deep, deep depression, channel that into helping others, which is what I did. But it came full circle again because I have a brother that passed away about a month ago, who was 50. And so I found myself like, I got to walk the talk. Like I got to grieve. I got to feel, and obviously it's still there, but I've got to feel the intensity of this grief and then find the gratitude. And I still don't know what that's going to be channeled into. Obviously with my first brother's death, that was like 30 years ago, that really, like I said, propelled my career path. And so I'm kind of, in a weird way, excited to see what happens with this, where this propels my next giving, my next form of giving. And I don't know what that is yet, but but it's these difficult circumstances that if I can use my own advice and bring in the gratitude in every moment and the way that I can give through that and help through that, it's helping my own healing. So I'm going to walk the talk, and I'll let you know how it goes. I'm going to keep trying it. And it's a process for sure. It's not a one and done. It's not a November, 27th or whatever Thanksgiving is. It is an everyday thanks and giving, and bringing that into my soul, into our souls in every moment, so we can heal and transcend any suffering that we're going through.
Yeah, this is something I wanted to bring up too, because you do say we should make every day Thanksgiving, not just have this national holiday one time a year, but to have that thought go on with us throughout our lives, every single day that we live. In practical terms, how does somebody incorporate Thanksgiving into their daily lives?
So I think that when I envision Thanksgiving, that's a day when pretty much everything else stops, and we are, if I don't know if you guys do it at your family table, but a lot of families go around and say what they're grateful for on that day. A lot of people give thanks, for family and togetherness. So I think that just bringing in little pieces of those things on a daily basis, and remembering to bring in the grace and gratitude, and bring in the sense of presence, bring in the sense that nothing else really matters but that time together with your loved ones, the time, with yourself, to kind of reset and regroup, and then figure out, okay, how can this also be a day of giving? And if I start my mornings in that way, of thinking about what am I grateful for and what can I do to give today beyond my normal, like I know what I normally do with my therapy and with my other things, but kind of that little step beyond, what am I going to do today that honors my brothers, that honors my grief, that is a little step forward? That's what I think might make a difference.
Do we have to experience pain to feel the sense of thanks and giving?
No, I don't think so, but pain is inevitable. I think that it's one of the many human emotions that we all feel at different times. And what I've learned from the work that I do with trauma is that traumas can be seemingly really little, but they're triggers from long ago pain that wasn't resolved. So pain can be like a cumulative thing, but nobody has had a childhood, nobody has had a life free of difficulty. It's all in how we acknowledge it first, and then feel it, and then transcend it and bring it to a place of thanks and giving. But I think that what you're asking, I guess, is, can we right now bring that in, or does it have to be in the dark night of the soul and the transformation? And my thought is, and you can tell me, but wherever we are in life, I think bringing in gratefulness and giving, thanks and giving, is part of the life journey. I think it's my one word summary for what life is really about. I think we're here to give thanks and give. Like, I can't think of another one word summary for life of what we're here for. So in terms of purpose, no matter where you are on the pain spectrum, our purpose can be found through gratitude and giving.
How can people find out more about the book and about you and about what you do?
Oh, thank you, Debbie. Okay, so the book, The Grateful Soul, compilation book by Kira Schaefer. It is available on Amazon, Kindle, all those platforms, and Barnes & Noble, a couple other places. It's a beautiful compilation book. And the my website is www.soullife.us, I like to say, soullife.us. My practice is called Soul Life, and it's living your whole life. And I help people get there however we can. And I'm only doing virtual therapy now, and virtual art therapy, and holographic memory resolution and trauma work, all those things online. So what's nice about that is I've opened the availability a little more. But anyway, so Soul Life US, people can contact me, and I'm grateful to keep giving. I'm going to find ways to give thanks and give in every moment. I consciously drill that in.
We've been talking about gratitude with therapist Dr. Cheralyn Leeby. We'll be right back with our next guest. We're still living under the old paradigm where we see ourselves as victims and unable to control our destinies. A lot of us haven't yet discovered that we can co-create our lives and manifest what we want. Well, all is not lost. If you're looking to get more out of your life, my guest today can help you look within and discover how to reach your potential. Kate Yurenda is an energy healer, law of attraction and Qigong expert, the founder of Dream Bold Network, and the author of several books, including Spiritual Foreplay and Good Guy, Great Game. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Kate.
How are you?
Oh, I am doing great. Well, Kate, recently my two little grandchildren came to visit me. And one of the things I noticed was that they knew what they wanted and they were determined to get it. And it got me thinking, somewhere along the line, a lot of us lose that childlike quality and we end up just settling for what we want. How can we get back that curiosity, wonder, and purpose in our lives?
What a great question, because this is something I'm so passionate about teaching, is the power of play and the art of play, and that is our natural state. You know, when we're kids, we do know what we want. We're very confident we're going to get it, and it's our imagination. That's probably one of the biggest keys to manifesting in law of attraction is imagination, because the further your imagination goes, the more open you are to the infinite possibilities. And so it is about being present and mindful and being in this high state of joy and bliss and just the awe and wonder for life. You know, as kids, are just fascinated by everything. We're curious. We haven't been programmed yet. We haven't been bogged down with this social narrative. And so it is about getting back to that state, that innocence, that play, that just being in the moment and connected to everything around you, and just having faith. You know, I think kids, we believe it's coming to us, and everything's about your belief system. So as adults, we really want to get back to that mindfulness, back to those states of joy, and just let the imagination run.
Yeah, and I think it's also a question of unlearning everything that we do get taught as children. Because I was talking to somebody recently and they pointed out something that it hadn't really occurred to me, that when you're young and you're learning things, you're always told things in the negative, like, don't do this, or, you know, this is the wrong way to do it, instead of being encouraged, oh, here's the right way to do it. And we end up spending our whole lifetimes unlearning that.
Yeah, it's very true, and that's really what's happening. Like you mentioned, what is time to go inward and to face our shadow individually and collectively, and to rewire and recalibrate, because that's what this period of time is for. It's for shedding, shedding the layers and the things that don't serve us, and really allowing ourselves to rise up as lighter beings and more connected to the truth, the nature, and to each other. And there's beautiful, beautiful things emerging out of this. So it is a surrender time, a surrender and a reinventing who we are. So it is exciting. This is a huge opportunity. You know, it looks a certain way because of the media, but there's a lot of beauty coming out of this as well.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that you say is that one of the ways that we can help manifest what we want is to go at it with the idea to expect miracles and magic. What do you mean by that?
Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say, I am realistic, I expect miracles. And so I really started to embody that belief system, that practice, because whatever you expect, it's going to show up. So if you're expecting that you're going to have a bad day, things will show up to affirm that, of course, because we're powerful beings. We're emitting these frequencies through our thoughts and through our emotions and our intentions. And so it really is a matter of expecting the best things to show up. Expect the abundance, expect the magic, expect the love, and to get out of that victimization mindset, because we are creating our reality 24/7 with the frequency that we're putting out. So we really want to increase our inner magnetism so that we can expect more outer, abundance and magic. So it's such a limitless universe, and we're limitless beings. We just have to understand that and step into our power. That's what's happening now as well. A lot of people are waking up to our inner innate powers. So it's exciting.
It is exciting, but what do you say to people who, if you say things like that to them, they say, "Oh no, I can't do that. There's just so much going on that's not working. I can't get away from that."
With people that feel those limiting beliefs, or feel that they're not worthy, or that they're not even capable of attracting things intentionally, I always have them run through a gratitude practice. Start with writing out what you have, and start thinking about things that have happened in your life. And I always have them go through the process. Did you think about something? Did you emotionalize it? Did you visualize it, and then it showed up? And they're like, "Oh yeah, I have done this before." I'm like, "You've been doing it your whole life." It's just a matter of becoming aware of it, becoming a conscious creator, and not just thinking that things are happening randomly, because it's an energy matrix and we're energy beings. So it really is a matter of helping people to just understand energy, and really translating, quantum physics for them, translating these ancient practices, and adding movement. That's what the Qigong is about. It's a moving meditation. So when people start adding the movement, they start to get it more. They start to realize, they start to feel their own chi or life force energy. They start to feel what it is to harness energy and project it, and see it return like a boomerang. So it's about the movement for me. That's always my key way of teaching it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's funny that you mention that, because one of my next questions I was going to talk to you about was energy, and the idea which a lot of people also have a hard time understanding is that energy is around us, and we are energetic beings, and we are energy, and what our energy level is helps determine how we look at life, and how we survive and thrive in what we do. Now you talked about Qigong. I want to get into that a bit too, because obviously that's a way to raise our energy levels. Do you think that is the way to do it?
That's one of the most important ways, because Qigong is an ancient practice. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years, and it matches and mirrors nature. So you're really getting back into your natural state, and you learn to really understand the coherence between heart and mind, and you understand the power of your thoughts more when you slow down and you add this movement. So when people do Qigong, they realize the connection between the heart and the mind, and they're able to have more heart and mind coherence, and they're able to feel connected not just to their higher self, but to everyone in the room, to their families. That you watch them feel more connected. And when you feel more connected, and you start rewiring your brain, and you start thinking of everything in terms of energy, you see the results so quickly. I mean, I see people in one class who have just had this huge transformation, and they finally had the awareness to, rewire an inner movie that they have, a mind movie about their past. They were able to let it go and shift the energy and feel lighter in their bodies. So I feel like Qigong is one of the most important ways to understand this. I think that's a huge next step for the law of attraction and manifesting, is to add movement. And it doesn't have to be Qigong. I teach people to just dance. When you dance, you understand the energy. We all love weddings because we dance, and our life force energy goes through the roof because we're activated. So it's all about activating your own energy field, and then you start to really get it. When you have to experience it yourself.
And it's true. I think for everything, it's always, we make changes, we make transformations when we take action. Whether it's not just, mental action of trying to do things, but actually physical actions. You said, like, doing these practices. For those who aren't aware of the practice, could you just go into a little explanation of what it's involved with it?
Absolutely, sure. So in the beginning, you'll do more activation. So movements such as, rubbing your hands together to activate some energy in your hands, or some, like, bouncing and shaking activates a lot of life force energy. You do stretching, a lot of breath work. So you're really matching the breath to the movements. So you start with more yang activation, more energetic movement in the beginning, and then you go into more flowing movement. So it's just like nature. There's yin and yang energy, that's active, fiery energy, and this slow or cool energy. And so it's about balancing and harmonizing your body and connecting to the cosmic divine energy above, but also the grounded earth energy below. So you get into alignment. That's the key thing. And the whole point of manifesting is to get into vibrational alignment with the thing that you want to create, your future self, so you really understand through movement how you can shift your thoughts, shift your emotions, and be this 24/7 magnetic being. So
and when you're doing the practice, how long does it take for it to have an effect on you?
People feel it within the first few minutes, first 5 minutes. It's once you do a few movements and you stop and sense and feel the energy moving through your meridians or energy pathways. That's when you watch people just go, whoa, what's this? Where has this been my whole life? And kids get it in a second. As soon as you teach them a few movements, they're like, oh yeah, and they start playing with their energy in their hands and forming a chi ball, and then they start to realize how powerful they are as energy beings, as internal healers. And then they start to interact with people around them differently. So you feel it very quickly. Average class, anywhere from 45 minutes to hour and a half, depending. There's always guided meditation as well. So I incorporate a lot of guided visualizations and really just helping people to see that it's all about being here in the now as an energy being, with your vibrations going up and up and up. And then you're going to attract new people, better experiences, and more abundance. So it's a fun practice.
One of the things that I find really fascinating about it is that you can actually feel the energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the thing. Electromagnetic energy is within us and it's all around us, and you can store it and compact it in your body, and then you can learn to actually project it. So you see the chi masters, energy masters all around the world who can do these superhuman things, and it's incredible because we all can do that. We are all superhuman, metahuman. We have these incredible abilities, and we're just waking up to it globally. So it's going to be very fascinating to watch as this spreads more and more. You're going to see qigong everywhere very soon because it's such a beautiful, easy solution, natural solution to what's going on.
It also does have an effect for actual healing also, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Our number one way to heal is through the energy body, through bioenergetics. And so activated life force keeps you healthy and resilient, and it boosts your immune system. So it's the thing I tell everyone right now. I'm like, if you're not feeling well, try qigong, try a routine. We have a lot of routines on Dream Bold Network, and we're going to just keep putting more and more out there. We just want everyone healthy and healed and stepping into that innate gift. It really is such a beautiful gift. Life force energy is in everything. Children, animals, plants, it's everywhere. It's what makes our world go round. And so we just have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration to really understand how we co-create our realities.
Kate, one of the other things I want to talk about in terms of making transformations in our life is the idea of intention. How important is it to setting an intention to having an effect?
One of the most important aspects of life, because whatever you're putting your focus on, whatever your intention is, wherever you're directing your energy, that's what you're creating and that's what you're attracting. So it's very important to be aware of the inner dialogue, the inner narrative. Is it positive and uplifting? Is it, what are the I am statements? I am a creator, I am magnetic. What are you telling yourself? What are your intentions? Is it to attract things, or is it to just go through life and kind of suffer and feel victimized by it? It's all about intention and really being gentle and kind to yourself and being your number one fan. I always tell people with manifesting, tell the universe how amazing you are, how worthy you are, and really declare it. It's all about that an attitude. There's a fun aspect of manifesting where it really, you get to be playful and interactive with the entire universe, and you get to be really playful and just empowered and have a little fun attitude and say, I can attract anything. It's a confidence. There's a confidence to manifesting for sure. So I encourage everyone to be very aware of the intentions, of your repeating thoughts, and of the story that you're telling yourself. It's always about our inner story, and that's why I love qigong, is because when you drop people into theta brain state, that's when they really can rewire that subconscious program and have a more empowering story.
How can people find out more about you and your work?
Definitely. So we are on YouTube, Dream Bold Network, and on Instagram as well. And then mostly just the website. That's where I always send people. It'll connect you to everything that we're doing, and I think that it's really a valuable investment of people's time to go in and read the blog, to go in and watch the videos, especially the Qigong. I really encourage everybody, just find a video, whatever resonates for you. There's Qigong for business, Qigong to feel sexy, Qigong for goddesses, Qigong for relationships. There's a million different styles and videos on there. So I just have fun with it.
We've been speaking with Kate Yurenda, energy healer and the founder of the Dream Bold Network. We'll be right back with our next guest. I was lucky enough to have my grandchildren visit me this past month. And one of the things I noticed was that practically every other word out of their mouth was, why? Why does it have to be this way? Why does this thing work this way? Why can't I do this? Why do I have to do that? They demanded answers, and they wouldn't stop asking until they got a response that made sense to them. Then I got to thinking, aren't we all like this? Even if we're not as demonstrative and insistent as children, as adults, aren't we always looking for solutions and the best ways we could go on with our lives? Why can't I feel better about myself? Why do I keep making the same mistakes over and over? What will the future bring for me? How do I figure it all out? Well, some might say the answer lies in the numbers. We're going to discuss this with internationally known numerologist Stanley Tsiamoulis. Stanley is a mathematical alchemist using practical and applied numerology to help his clients to their ultimate purpose in life. He's a CEO and founder of Zenith Culture and the creator of the ESP code numerology. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Stanley.
Awesome to be here, Debbie. Thank you. It's an honor.
Oh, thank you. Well, Stanley, as I said, I think there's a part of us that wants this giant unseen finger to point a path that has all the answers and say to us, go here. Does numerology do that?
It's a beautiful question. I believe it does, because I have three main questions that I have on my site that I talk about is, why are we here? What are we doing now? And how will we get there? So just as your grandchildren asked the question, why, they're exactly on the right path, because that's what we all should be asking, why are we here? So I have them, I love acronyms and I love paragraphs and paraphrases, if you will. And I say a thing where astrology is the science of God, mathematics is the language of God, and numerology is the code of God. And with the ESP code numerology, I've happened to have cracked it as I'm channeling all the time to show people their why, hence the ESP, which is essence, soul, and purpose. So to answer your question, absolutely, the why is the fundamental basis for everyone to get to know their essence, soul, purpose. And I can help guide people, as you said, practically in an applied method with numerology.
Yes, well, you did talk about your method, the ESP code. I know enough about numerology to get myself in trouble. I mean, they say little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Well, I know that my life path is an 8, and that has something to do with success, but that's all I know. But your ESP code goes a step farther. You actually use 4 numbers to determine a person's path. So can you go into that and explain how that works?
Yes, just as you're saying, your life path number, that's your third number, is an 8. We have 4 numbers based on the infusion, if you will, of our planets in our solar system. So just like we've got the sun behind me, and as we discussed with your numbers, we have an identity number, our first number, and that is the synergy, if you will, of the sun and moon. So think of the sun as a transmitter and the moon as a receiver, just like in a radio. A radio is just wavelengths, it's a frequency. That forms our first number from our day and month. Our second number is the infusion of the other planets, being Mercury to Pluto, in our year of birth. And when we add that to get all our planets in our solar system, we have our third number, which is what you touched on, the life path number or the character number, in your case being the 8. And then to take it even another step further, to go to our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind overrules our conscious mind 10,000 to 1, we have a 4th number. And that is the summation of our current 3 numbers leading to our 4th number, which then becomes the ESP code. So in your aspect, with your code, your 4th number is that spiritual element that drives the success or the business avenue of what you're doing, but it's from a spiritual element. It's from a spiritual foundation, because your 4th number is a 7, Debbie. So when we go deeper, it's like peeling onions. It's peeling emotions to the surface. When you peel an onion, emotions come to a surface. So we go deeper to know ourselves. It's like a deeper why. And that's the beauty of grandchildren. It's the beauty of all of us when we're children, 3, 4, or 5-year-olds. We seek and we want to go deeper. Hence, the 4-numbered code not only goes deeper in showing our attributes, but the key is it shows our biorhythms, our cycles, and how we maneuver with that. And I've happened to do it in a simplified method with the numerological code, the ESP code.
Say that, it gives you, the spiritual path and the essence and putting it all together. But in a practical sense, somebody has this code. How do they use it in their life?
First and foremost is to know thyself, like all the philosophers say, so to know themselves much deeper. So when they know themselves much deeper and what they're meant to be doing at the subconscious, because sometimes even when we're children and go into our adult life, we are influenced, whether from good agendas or bad, not intentionally or unintentionally, from our family environment, from our parents, from the schools, from the key teachers that tried to guide us in what they thought may have been to our benefit or to the advantage of us. But don't forget, we all have our own individual frequency, our own individual soul. So when we are in sync with our code, we become happier, we add value, we create better. And when we're doing that, we're healthier, we're more productive, and we're more in sync with what we're meant to be doing. So I guide people in a practical method into know how their biorhythms work, because it's all formed from a synergy of the frequencies, the energies, if you will, of the planets. So we have God's satellites, if you will, affecting us. So when we know how those movements of the planets affect us at a simplified method, because astrology is a beautiful complex science, but when we're doing it at a simplified method with the numerology, we can then understand ourselves better, so we can maximize our productivity and we can maximize our strengths and complement our weaknesses with each other, whether it be in personal or business life. So we're much happier, much more productive, and it's like an exponential productivity level, because everyone's in sync with what they're meant to be doing, and then also everyone's aware of each other's strengths and weaknesses. So there's no really agenda anymore. It's more got to do with let's elevate and collaborate, let's rock and roll.
Oh, but how do life situations affect this? Because if you have this number, it seems like it's a static thing, but then life comes at you. So how do you use this to deal with life situations?
Life comes at us in different cycles, in different circumstances. So when we know how to maneuver with that, we go, okay, for example, I'm having a bit of a frustration here, and I may look at it, and it may be that I may be running a bit of a 6 year. I may need to pivot. I may need to change something. Or you may be even in a positive element of your cycle, but something still may be obstructing. Is there something we need to look at deeper in terms of the environment that you're in, or the office number, or the house number, the location, or could it be the letters in your name? Because letters play a vibrational frequency as well. So there's always things you can do to fine tune, because the practicality of this is limitless. So when we go deeper and my clients are with me, I begin to channel, and what we do is we go through 3 desired outcomes that they're looking to achieve. And then we solve problems with the channeling that I do. And then when they're connected to me, hence the mathematical alchemist, I begin to mathematically realign them, just like a chiropractor or an osteopath will. It's not just going to be a one-hit wonder session. We're going to go through, we're going to not only get to know your code better, we're going to calibrate it, we're going to test it, they're going to ask questions. Stan, what about this? Okay, fine. And then they begin to see these aha moments. They self-calibrate themselves, and then they begin to see solutions come to them in the ether, in the air, so to speak. So then I'll see how numbers relate to them, say, from shirts, from number plates on cars, or from messages, because we are all subliminally programmed from messages from birth anyway, with the TV, radio, social media, and internet. It's even more prevalent now with the social media, with 5G. So when people know who they are, they can discern much better. And when they can discern much better, they can select the solutions that are right for them, and that they don't get influenced by other people's maybe wrong agendas, or if they're looking to offer some solutions, it still may not be from their guidance or their biorhythms. So it's all got to do with how if you look at the sine wave in school, how biorhythms work. And when people can understand their biorhythms, they'll see solutions a little bit more crispier, more crystal clear. So think of it as personal development, but at a much deeper level. And it's wisdom that is far beyond some people's comprehension. But I realign people, and then they'll begin to see how this works and unfolds. So it's like another level of wisdom, if you will.
Once you are aware of this, you can use this to figure out if you're in the right career, or if you're living in the right place, or even if you're looking for the right person in your life.
Yeah, it's all profiling. So countries have numbers as well. So you may not be in the country that's prevalent. And I've even broken down the states in America. So there may be a relocation that'd be prevalent for work, or you may be looking to have a relationship with someone. You think, okay, this person looks really great, but is it fundamentally long and stable? And the profiling of the two people together form either what we call, say, a positive, neutral, sort of negative frequency. So when we know that, we know how to maneuver with our people in our personal life. And the same can go, for example, in business with CEOs and their employees, or human resource management, or joint venture and strategic alliances. The same thing can go when looking to travel, whether it be for personal or business life, or if they're looking to travel in the ether, just like we're doing now with Zoom, when they're holding a seminar or a webinar. So this really is limitless in its practicality. It's all got to do with each individual understanding themselves, and then knowing how to maneuver that with their cycles. So when they're realigning, everything begins to come in sync a little bit better. Nothing is all beautiful, hunky-dory, and there's all solutions just unfolded straight off the bat. What happens is, it's all got to do with realignment and just working on that. Just like when we learn to ride a bike, when we become better, we learn to walk. We learn to listen to some people that can influence us at a better environment than just friends who may not be in that environment that you're looking to achieve. So when people are in that zone and they want to, leave a legacy or really ascend at higher levels in their lifetime, the ESP code is a tool to help them. And that's where I come in as their teacher, because I'm a master teacher as a master number 33, but also, Debbie, I'm a master student. So whether I'm talking to someone younger or older than me, I'm always learning. And that's the beauty of it, because you stay childlike, and you stay dreamlike, but you form your reality in a practical manner, just like what you're doing as a dream coach. You're successful and practically doing it. So there's no reason why each individual cannot manifest their dreams to reality in a practical manner.
How can people find out more about you and your work?
You can find me at my website, Zenith Culture, and it's spelled with ZENETH, Culture, CULTURE.com. They can Google my name, and on my footer of the site, there's social media channels. They can connect with me on the Facebook, LinkedIn. And if they want I haven't got my 3-month and 12-month mathematical realignment programs on the site, but they can still contact me, and I can send them that info. And I'm looking to update that on the site nonetheless. And they can, if they've got any questions, easily reached. All the details there on my website and my social media handles, and I look forward to answering other people's questions.
We've been speaking with numerologist Stanley Tsiamoulis. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.